Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your educator. I warmly welcome you all on our YouTube platform where we in today's video are going to discuss the previous year questions which are related to the theory of neo-historicism. Now, if you guys have watched the previous videos, if you know you have not, but in literary theory, if we prepare in English literature NET, or even if we are doing it for our masters and other degrees as well, we know that this was a theory which was, developed in the 1980s by a very prominent figure. I'm not going to give the name of him because that's a question here as well, that who is known as the father of new historicism. So that's that. We are going to deal with that. So this theory, which came in the year 1980s, came up with one stance that the themes and other things in literature, they are not universal for every culture in every time. Rather, they are the product or the result of the author who is writing in a particular age and the cultural things that are happening around him or her during those times. So, new historicists are the ones who are trying to uncover the texts that are there, but they are also looking at another text that are supporting the main literary text to see what is the hidden thing that is there. So we majorly also will see terms like anecdotes that are going to be of importance in new historicism. What are anecdotes? Anecdotes can be anything, short stories, कुछ भी छोटी छोटी oral stories जो लोग बताते हैं आपस में एक दूसरे को, ठीक है, एक छोटो मोटो सी बात भी बता दी, उस टाइम में, उस जमाने में ऐसा होता था. So the other writer, जैसे हम देखें in the piece of literature in Shakespearean age, so in Shakespearean age, whatever would have been the culture during those times would have affected Shakespeare to write the kind of drama that he was writing. And we can confirm the same by reading other works that are not the pieces of the main fictional drama, literature, etc. But we can read the diary accounts of the people during those age कि हाँ जी वहाँ पे ये चीजें हो रही थी उस टाइम पे. So is Shakespeare writing alongside the culture that he was residing in? He was having an impact on himself, and we are going to confirm it with the other things, the other texts which we will see are known by the name co-texts. Right? In this way, it will be different from old historicism. That old historicism will focus majorly on the context, but new historicism would try to focus majorly on the core texts, the texts which are supporting the major body of literature, the major piece or work of literature. Now, without wasting any further time, I've given you a brief introduction again here about new historicism. Let's see how many of you understand this particular literary theory. So, the agenda, the approach should be to take a look at the question, take your time, pause the screen, try to evaluate the question and then answer, because I'll be moving ahead with the video itself, right? I'll not be taking that much of a pause as would be required by you all. And also make sure that you're keeping your notebooks, pen, paper, etc. handy with you to note down these previous year questions, because they are important from the NET perspective, right? So, the new historicists include a group of which three people? The right answer to this question is option C, that is Greenblatt, Stephen Greenblatt, Louis Montrose, Stephen Greenblatt, Louis Montrose, who will give us the term the historicity of text and textuality of history. What do we mean by that is a question that you need to answer in the upcoming slides. Then we have Jonathan Goldberg. These three are the figures. बाकी अगर आप ऑप्शंस देखो तो उनमें से फिगर्स कहीं ना कहीं अलग अलग थियरीज के. लेट्स जस्ट टेक शॉल्टर फॉर एग्जांपल, शी इज फ्रॉम द फेमिनिस्ट थियरी. देन एलन सिनफील्ड, बटलर वी हैव फ्रॉम द जेंडर परफॉर्मेटिविटी एटसेट्रा, राइट? विलियम्स इज फ्रॉम कल्चरल मटेरियलिज्म और द मार्क्सिस्ट लिटरेरी. सो दीज थ्री इन द ऑप्शन सी इज द राइट आंसर. Then we have the next question. This is to be read in a greater detail. How would a new historicist critic interpret Derrida's statement, there is nothing outside the text? So pause your screens if you feel like. The answer to this question is option D. कैसे पढ़ेगा एक न्यू हिस्टोरिसिस्ट क्रिटिक डेरिडा की स्टेटमेंट कि टेक्स्ट के बाहर कुछ नहीं है? लेट्स जस्ट रीड द ऑप्शन डी हियर, दैट लिटरेचर encompasses all cultural artifacts and all the values and power relations and ways of seeing reflected in those artifacts, and those artifacts need not be always the piece of literature. अगर मैं literature in a larger stance की भी बात करूं, then we can consider even the small diary writing, anecdotes, the small stories, etc. To be considered in the piece of literature. So literature artifacts क्या होते हैं? History के साथ related. So literature of a particular age will have the history somewhere or the other hidden beneath it, right? And the ways of seeing are reflected in those artifacts. How am I supposed to read a work which is from the Restoration age? That how the comedy of manners, etc. is reflected. The drama is now different from the age of Shakespeare. Why did that happen? Because of the fact Charles II brought from the France वाले exile के बाद जब he came back, he brought the France की values and etiquettes with himself. That's why Shakespearean drama is very much different from the drama of the Restoration age that we see. तो उस टाइम की हिस्ट्री कल्चर जो है उस टाइम के लिटरेचर को ऑलरेडी इट्स somewhere or the other affecting, right? So we can get an idea about it by reading other works as well, right? There is nothing outside of the text broadly conceived. मतलब कि जो टेक्स्ट है उसके अलावा आई वुड नॉट नीड टू रेफर टू एनी अदर थिंग because of the fact that the text is sufficient enough to tell me about the culture and history of that age, right? That's why option D is the right answer. What is the difference between old historicism and the new historicism? I tried to give you a bit of a hint in the beginning of the video if you would have heard it right. So what do you think is old historicism and how is it different from new historicism? The answer to this question is option C, that old historicism is merely the background and context, literature only reflecting history. Old historicists का क्या point of view है? That only the texts that are there having that background and context. So old historicists consider the context of a situation, that अच्छा उस टाइम पे ऐसा literature लिखा जा रहा था क्योंकि वहां का culture ऐसा था. That's all right. But the new historicists would view it with the sense that literature and history, they both influence each other. They are working together. They are amalgamated together. So यहाँ पे एक चीज दोबारा से बताने की कोशिश करूंगी that old historicists would believe in the context of history, but here if I am thinking or looking through a stance of a new historicist, I would use the term co-text. I would also read the diary writings. I would also read some non-fictional works of the age of Pope, जानने के लिए कि उस टाइम पे periodicals क्यों लिखे जा रहे थे. Why? Because of the fact that Protestantism was at its height. Alexander Pope को उस टाइम पे people, there were contemporaries who were there. Why were they not behaving with him nicely? Right? Why were they satirizing or mocking him? That's because he was a Catholic, and Catholics in the age of Pope, they were not given that much, उनको tolerance नहीं दी जाती, religious tolerance नहीं थी, correct? So that's why I can read beneath the lines that are there through the co-texts that are associated, and this co-text could include autobiographies, can include biographies, can include anecdotes, diaries, etc. Okay? And I can read them alongside reading the main piece of literature. That is how I will be reading it through a new historicist stance. Old historicist सिर्फ और सिर्फ context पे ध्यान देगा. The next question, who founded new historicism? Pretty simple question. The right answer to this question is option C, that is Stephen Greenblatt. Correct? He is known as the father of new historicism. Next question, what is the central focus of new historicism in literary analysis? How does it try to explore literature? How does it try to analyze literature? Pause the video. The answer to this question is option B, that exploring the historical context and power dynamics. What were the material conditions of the age that was there, and how were those conditions, how was it power influencing the piece of literature that was being produced? So history, हमारे power dynamics and culture, they will go hand in hand, right? How does New Historicism emphasize the concept of textuality of history and historicity of text? I told you that this was a term given by whom? I have told about that thing in the video only. So you can comment it down. क्या मतलब है textuality of history and historicity of text का? The answer to this question is option C. It means that by exploring the reciprocal relationship between historical events and literary texts, कि कैसे किसी history को हम textualized form में we can present the piece of history because we are using text, and we can also have historicity inside the text, the historical conditions that were prevailing during the text when an author was penning it down, right? That how there is a reciprocal relationship between that there will be history in a text and there will be text in history as well, right? And how they are penned down, of course. Next question is a statement based question, wherein statement 1 goes like, New Historicism places equal importance on both literary text and the historical context in which it was produced. Statement 2 says that the critics, the New Historicist critics, believe that there is a fixed and universally agreed upon interpretation of historical events. फिर से अगर आपने वीडियो बिगिनिंग अच्छे से समझी होगी, when I was giving you the idea about New Historicism, how it built in 1980s as a theory, you guys would be getting this answer right. The answer to this question is option A, that only statement 1 is correct. B क्यों नहीं correct है? Yes, of course, New Historicism says that even if I am reading a banking statement during the 18th century of a person, and even if I am reading a piece of literature, banking statement and a piece of literature would hold equal importance, right? And historical context in which it was produced, it could be seen from there as well. Statement 2 says that there is a fixed agreed upon reality and interpretation of historical events. No, there's no one universal theme that is present there, but rather I told you it is shaped through the culture and history in which a writer is writing or penning his or her work down, right? So that's all what we had with regards to the previous year questions that we were to discuss, which were related to New Historicism. I hope you guys have understood the video and it was meaningful and beneficial to all of you. I'll see you all in another video with another concept and question. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye-bye.